This is where the fun begins.
Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose.
King Kong ain't got shit on me!
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the
Everybody
procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm!
Say my name.
And here we go.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Grab your snacks, get your popcorn ready. It's about to get realist. I'm your host, Matthew Serrato, joined today by the great Derrick Meyer. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing well, bro. Good to see you. Good to see you.
It's good to see you too, bro. And
Yes, sir.
unfortunately, Chris couldn't join us today, but we hope to catch him on the next episode.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So today we're going to be discussing the state of Sony Marvel, the cast of the MCU's new Fantastic Four movie, as well as a movie review on The Holdovers directed by Alexander Payne. But before we get into all of that, we want to remind you to follow us on all our social media platforms, OTS Media Co. and OTS Media on YouTube. And make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. But before moving forward, Derrick, where can they find you at?
Yeah. You can follow me at Derrick_OTS. That's DERRICK, the black way to spell it, especially in Black History Month. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Where they can find you?
Yes, sir. And you can always find me over on Instagram, Matt_T29. Very much looking forward to this episode, playing to
Sir.
discuss in the film world, and that begins with Sony.
Yeah.
Particularly their Spider-Man franchise thing. So very recently, this past weekend, in fact, Sony released Madam Web, which received great reviews. So great that it has a 15% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is worse than Morbius. Has made less than $50 million at the box office within a
Yeah.
7 to 8 day span. And is very much a clear indication of the kind of quality of movies that we've been receiving in the past 2 to 4 years. So I really just wanted to ask you quite bluntly, like what's wrong with them? Like why did they keep doling out movie after movie? Are they that confident in what they're producing? Is it just they don't care and they know that they'll make money? Like what's the main problem here?
So, yeah, I think what you just said is really it. They know they're going to make money. Like, I don't really think that they actually care about the quality of the film. Because if they did, they would just work with Marvel, with Disney on everything they need to work on. Because to me, Madam Web sounded like it was something that definitely should have been included with MCU. I'm not sure what their licensing is with that character in regards to how that works with between Sony and Disney, but I think that was something that they really could have done. Uh, I don't know, man. I think Sony has an issue where you just hmm, you know how you can't really teach a man a lesson that he thinks he already knows. I think that's
Yeah.
that's Sony, man. That pretty much
Yep.
sums Sony up in a nutshell. I think they believe they are significantly better than they actually are.
Mhm.
It gets me nervous about how everything's gonna go with Spider-Man because there's dispute over the creative outlook with it
Yep.
and how everything's gonna happen with Tom Holland's. I'm assuming it's gonna be his final film. I don't think he's gonna come back after this.
You think so?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's something that he wants to do because you're seeing him actually take on different roles in different movies, and I think right now he's working on Broadway. I think he wants to kind of like broaden his horizons, and that's fine. That's fine. I think we need to go ahead and go into the Miles Morales lane anyway. But it makes me also nervous because I know the Tobey Maguire movie is what people want to see, right? So how does this whole thing go moving forward with Spider-Man in general? Because I'm assuming Andrew Garfield is going to try and work on his film.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like I don't know what they're doing because the reviews for Madam Web coming out sounded like this was going to be a significantly great film. Like the way everybody was talking about it, I'm like, oh, this is going to be okay. I'm
Yeah. And I think it you said made a lot of great points. I think Sony is caught in my
in his
sneaking
own web.
suspicion, literally, that's got the dad jokes rolling, and I love it. I
Yeah, I'm
love it.
sorry, man. I couldn't help that
The-
one.
um, you but honestly, that's like the moral of the story, right? And
Yeah.
my a couple points I wanted to touch on, really expand upon that I think you brought. I love how you brought up. So, but firstly, like my sneaky suspicion, and I'm not aware of how contracts go, specifically when you're retaining rights to certain franchises or characters.
Mhm.
I'm under the assumption that in order to prevent a breach in contract or a contract expiring, you
Mhm.
have no choice but to release X amount of projects within a certain
Yes.
time frame. So
Yes.
that's the incentive aspect for Sony, right?
Yeah.
They lose all rights to Spider-Man if they don't release X amount of films and so forth. Unfortunately, I don't know the full details, but I would say I appreciate the clarification. So right out of the gate, we know for a fact that they're simply doing this because the franchise itself is a moneymaker. I think
Mhm.
because their films have been so bad and that they've outright paid reviewers. Like they definitely pay reviewers. And I make
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
accusation because in their Madam Web official Instagram account, you have actual bots saying like "great fun movie" or
Oh.
spewing out the same characters, you know, um,
Yeah.
and they were reaching to the bottom of the barrel for anything remotely positive about this
Yeah.
movie,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So the irony of it all is that this movie is going to be memed, it's going to be talked about on social media, and what's going to happen, I can guarantee you, is a Mobius situation or Morbius situation, excuse me, where like the whole like it's Morbin time memes and all the other nonsense that came out of it. So
Yeah.
if you remember, Sony re-released the movie in theaters and it
Mhm.
bombed again.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
actually think they're gonna do it with Man of Web because one, the movie's flop, did it out of the
Yes.
gate, and that's of no disrespect to the actresses who I presumed were tricked into thinking they were going to be in the MCU. I can guarantee you that's how Sony is getting so many talented actors to be a part of these projects. Um, and I think the other
Yeah.
aspect too is like honestly, they just don't know what they're doing.
They don't.
They really don't.
They don't.
Um, and to emphasize that, there's been a lot of reports coming out recently. Because you funny how you mentioned Tom Holland, but last film being Spider-Man 4 or whatever kind of story they want to make out of it. Um, Kevin Feige and the executives over at Sony are getting into a class on that they want the movie to be a grounded Spider-Man story, which, for the record, would tie into the ending of No Way Home, was literally would transition him to the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man that everyone knows and love from the comics,
Yeah.
or they want to do another multiverse story. So they're
And that's the
so
thing.
desperate, yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No,
Go
no, no,
ahead. Go ahead.
go ahead, bro.
That's the thing, though. They don't need to. We don't need another multiverse story with Spider-Man.
Mhm.
He's already been included in how many like grand spatial, expeditions. Like we don't need that. We don't need that.
Yeah.
I think they're doing too much, man. They're doing too much. And here's the thing, too. Like I had hopes for Madam Web, and what you just said makes all the sense in the world. That they promised these actors that they were going to be in the MCU. That makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah.
Because please tell me, are you excited about this Craven movie?
The only aspect that I was excited about was the R rating. I think that
Yeah,
was a great
yeah.
direction to take with a character as brutal as Craven. Um, but then the trailer came out and was about as bad as I should have, we should have expected. But
I didn't I didn't even see the trailer, but seeing the poster, I was highly disappointed, man.
yeah,
Because Craven is like this huge
mhm,
presence. And this looks like Craven before like the super serum or something like that.
yeah,
It's not the character I was hoping to see. And again, it's Sony like not doing something right, which is
yeah,
not it's not far fetched. That's they're always going to do something that's not right. But when you want to be a part of the MCU, which they are trying to angle themselves to be, you can't do that like and you not have everything together. You have to have the storyline together. Everything has to match. Morbius, did you see Morbius? I still haven't seen it.
no, I
I just
couldn't.
I can't bring myself to watch it.
Yeah.
I can't bring myself to watch it, man. I still haven't watched this is another Venom movie that came out, right?
Oh,
The
let
sequel.
there be. Oh, yeah. If
Yeah, I didn't watch that.
don't do that to yourself.
I could.
As a friend, as your brother, like I would
That
never
bad.
subject you to that. Don't, please don't. Do not do that to yourself.
I Yeah.
Re-
It's Sony, bro.
yeah. Respect the Andy
It's a
Serkis and Tom Hardy,
Sony
by the way.
issue.
But
Say
yeah,
again.
I was like, respect the Andy Serkis and Tom Hardy, not trying to trash
See, and
on and everything,
that's
the
the thing that
artistic and
sucks
everything.
because they're
Yeah.
amazing.
Hmm.
They're amazing. They need to be in the MCU.
Yeah. And that's
Well,
the
Andy
thing too.
Serkis is, but
Yeah, and I also it is something that I think we discussed multiple times. Like in situations like this, like I'm going to criticize the filmmaking aspects. We're going to criticize the filmmaking aspects, but I don't necessarily blame the director Madam Web. I don't blame Andy
yeah,
Serkis or
yeah.
Ruben Fincher or Fletcher for the first Venom. Like
Hmm.
I'll put it like this: when you're given poop, what can you do with it? Nothing. So,
At all,
like,
except
not
Fletcher.
even the greatest actors or directors can make
No.
anything. That was a weird analogy, but you know what I'm saying. Like, it's just, they're
Yeah,
not
I
doing
got you.
anything. Like, they're just,
They're not.
it's a shame, and I hope this genuinely, truthfully, I hope Sony loses the rights. I hope
Yeah.
Pascal loses her job because she is clueless. I think Avi Arad is debatably, not even debatably, the worst producer in all of Hollywood, or one of the worst producers in all of Hollywood in terms of his genuine misunderstanding of what makes Spider-Man good or his characters good. Um,
Hmm.
they need to start they need to go from the bottom up. So
Yeah.
at this point, and again, like no disrespect to them, obviously it's just on a human level, but as people with their power and their influence, it's shameful.
It
It's
is.
shameful practice that honestly
Yeah.
to just be these overly controlling, studio heads who think you know everything. It's like no, you don't. All you know about is how to make
Yeah.
money, and
Yeah.
you market movies the exact same way. You give us a 3-minute short film that tells me everything I need to know about the movie, and you saved me. Usually, I go. Obviously, I'm sure you go with your close friends. I go, into John and my close friends too. Like,
Hmm.
what we're saving what $50.
Oh yeah.
So thank you. If that's
Yeah.
one thing good you're doing, you're telling us why not to watch your movie. So
Yeah.
uh, appreciate you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's
And
just terrible.
I don't know her name, but the lady that was playing that was the main character in Madam Web. Uh, she said that when she signed on to the movie, it was something totally different
Yeah.
than what the script was. Like the story was supposed to be something totally different than what she signed on for.
Yeah.
And so it like it makes me think like now should Sony be responsible for uh almost like a what's the right way to say it? Almost like misdirecting these actors and like mischaracterizing the project that they're bringing on because it is a false advertisement.
Yeah. I think it's signing a deal with the devil.
Oh yeah,
In a lot of
yeah,
respects. I mean,
yeah.
um, can I give you? Do you ever plan on watching Man of Web? Is that a curiosity? Or because I was gonna
At
offer a quick
some
spoiler,
point,
but
at some point, I think I will. Um, I still I don't know. That's the thing. I'm not sure at this point
yeah,
because I can say I will. Like I said, I was gonna watch Morbius. Morbius has been on streaming for I don't know maybe like the last 6 months or so.
yeah,
I keep forgetting about it. Like
yeah,
I think at some point I'm gonna watch it, but
yeah.
I don't know.
Can I offer a slight spoiler?
Slight.
Slight. So they they scrapped all Peter Parker references from the movie, and reviews that I have seen and heard, like the movie becomes this like jumbled mess because you can definitely tell that there are parts of the movie they just outright cut, and it just makes it for even harder viewing experience. Um, yeah, so I won't go
I
into
might not
details
watch
about
that.
like
Yeah.
how noticeable it is because there's one particular plot point that you'll go, really? Like your dad afraid to reference anything? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's disgraceful. Um, but in good news though, going into our if we were all finished up here,
Yes, sir.
I don't
Yes,
know,
sir.
yeah, finished up here, but the Fantastic Four MCU's Fantastic Four cast was released on Valentine's Day,
Yeah.
with some pretty great actors. Pedro Pascal will be playing Reed Richards and or Mr. Fantastic. Vanessa Kirby will be playing Stu Storm, aka the Invisible Woman. Joseph Quinn will be playing Johnny Storm and the Human Torch, and then Iban Mas Bachrach, if I pronounce his last name correctly, will be starring as Ben Grimm, aka the Thing. Um, so yeah, I was just kind of curious, sort of what your thoughts are on the casting choices,
Mm.
and if this is a highly anticipated Marvel project of yours.
So I was disappointed, and I'll tell you why. I was hoping for John Krasinski and Emily Blunt. Like that's what my heart was set on. Now I love Pedro Pascal, right? I know he's gonna kill this role, so I have no doubts about it. I don't. I think this movie's gonna be phenomenal. I
Yeah.
actually love the number 4 logo, as well. So I think that they're on the right path. Joseph Quinn, I think is gonna he did a phenomenal job in Stranger Things.
Yeah, I think
So
so too.
I can't say that he's not gonna kill this role. He looks like he'll be able to kill the role. Ebon, we know him from the Bear. I love his approach um to stories. So yeah, I think he's gonna kill the role. I know nothing about Vanessa Kirby. Um so I'm kind of neutral on her. I'm wait and see. But if I'm not mistaken, I think that based off of the artwork that they showed, this is gonna be uh like
1960s.
1960s, yeah. So it's gonna be very intriguing to see what they do with this because it made me think, are they gonna go back in time like WandaVision and then bring it to modern day?
My
Um
mm,
no, good, good.
I don't know if I should say because I don't want to like spoil it if it ends up being true. kind of
Okay.
thing, but I'll put it like this. Um, there's a reason the multiverse exists.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
I think maybe you can sort of discern what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll put it
Yeah.
this way: there's a lot of possibilities. So there's that, and then there's also
Yes.
something else. We'll say,
Okay.
but
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. I know is the multiverse is definitely going to be included with this. So that's kind of like what I was thinking about was if that was going to be it. But my hope, I mean, I guess we're still probably within that realm. Was that the they were going to show the origin story, which is going to be from the quantum realm, right? That was kind of like what I was assuming. Now, I don't know if that's going to be something that they still reference after the whole Ant-Man Quantumania film. Who knows? But I think that would be a lost opportunity if they don't. So I think I'm excited. I am excited about the film. It comes out next year. So that's gonna be one that I think we should definitely like see and review if possible in
yeah,
person. Because that's going to be a good movie. I'm assuming it's going to be really good because I think the MCU has no choice but to make this next phase their best one.
yeah. I
They
just
have
think,
no choice.
yeah, I'm yeah. Well, I guess really the first thing I am impartial on really one casting choice, and that's Pedro. So
Okay.
Pedro is a phenomenal actor,
He is.
obviously. Um,
Yes.
but I can't help but shake the feeling that there were far better choices for this
Mm-hmm.
character than Pedro. And I think he was prioritized largely because of his popularity recently. He's been in a
Right.
lot of
Right.
TV shows, been in a lot of movies, and he obviously has that acting ability. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I say that now and watch this dude, end up being gives the best performance in the movie, everything. That wouldn't shock me, honestly, because Pedro approaches
Yeah.
his craft very, very distinctly. He has
Mm-hmm.
a great camaraderie with every single cast and crew. There's really nothing bad you could say about him. He's just a hard worker. So I don't doubt his ability. I just don't know if he's the most intelligent man in the Marvel universe. Like I can't see that vision right now. We just have
Yes.
to wait and see until trailer comes out. But like I said, it's not like a knock on him. It's just like he wouldn't have been like my first choice to play Reed
It was
Richards.
was was Krasinski your first choice?
No, because I think Krasinski was probably the worst of the bunch, to be
Oh,
honest with you,
wow. Who
which
was
is a
your
hot
choice
take.
for it?
So my choice was either it's probably like a hot take. My choice was bringing back the original Mr. Fantastic and then giving him like
Oh.
actual material to work with. And I know this kind of a bold
Ah,
one.
yeah.
Or my other choice was either gonna be Adam Driver or
Oh.
well, I do want to clarify the original actor I wanted to be in place of Krasinski in Multiverse of Madness, actually. But in terms
Okay.
of like the new
Okay.
iteration, so I think I should technically clarify that. The new iteration, I either want Adam Driver or and I'm forgetting what was the guy's name? I can't remember. I
What's it
remember,
from?
yeah. I forget, I think at one point it says Cillian Murphy as Reed Richards.
Oh,
Unless I'm thinking of
yes.
it. No, I was thinking of a Doctor Doom. So I think Adam
Dr.
Driver is
Doom.
really the one choice that I wanted for
See,
for a long
but
while.
Adam Driver would do well as Dr. Doom as well.
Oh yeah, I mean Adam Driver can play hero villain for sure. Yeah, I think
He
he can do a
can.
pretty good job with that
Who can
role
you
too.
see as Silver Surfer? Because Silver Surfer has to come into the picture in this next phase.
Um, that's a tough that's a tough one. Um, I keep hearing a lot of like casting choices for like Giancarlo Esposito. Um,
Yeah. Oh
so
man.
I don't think he'd be bad. I just I think he's kind of tired of because Silver Surfer is kind of like this antagonist kind of person. At least in my
Mhm.
understanding, he's kind of like a sort of antagonist before developing into like a proper protagonist to the Fantastic Four or with the Fantastic Four. And I think he kind of wants to stray away from that career-wise. I think he wants
Yeah.
to diversify the kinds of characters that he plays.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I actually don't know. I mean, maybe this is a hot take. I kind of like the potential gender swap and getting Anya Taylor-Joy as Silver Surfer. But it looks like they're not going that
Wow.
direction anymore. I think they've scrapped that idea, so they're looking to just bring back
Oh, were they thinking
a
about
male
doing that?
actor. Yeah, they're
Oh,
eyeing Anya
nice.
Taylor-Joy as like a gender swap, and then recently they said that they just scrapped the idea and they're just gonna so Silver Surfer is going to be appearing in the movie. It's just gonna end up being a male actor as opposed to a female actor. This time around,
Okay.
I do like the
Okay.
rumors of Javier Bardem as Galactus. I think that'd be a very interesting role for him.
Oh, snap. Wait, isn't he in the MCU?
No,
What am I thinking about?
could be Mads Mikkelsen. There were rumors that he was
I
going to be
could have
showing up in another
promised.
project.
I could have promised. I remember seeing him in Guardians of the Galaxy.
It might have been Sylvester
Um,
Stallone.
no, 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 no. Okay, no, I don't know. I can't. I'm blanking this man's name. It's not Javier then. Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, we'll have to talk about this at some other point because
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
know. I know I'm seeing this man's face and I can't remember his name. But Javier would be good as Galactus because I feel like you have to have Silver Surfer as a CGI character anyway.
Yeah,
Um
it's going to be tough to do.
it's going to be very difficult to have them in a suit. So um I would almost I mean Esposito makes sense in terms of voiceover, but I almost wouldn't mind seeing Lawrence Fishburne come in and do the voice. Um, I don't know. That's Fantastic Four has a lot of possibilities, but I think that we have to. This is the make or break phase.
Yeah, it was
This
supposed
is
to be
the
the multiverse
phase.
saga too. It's crazy.
I'm sorry, what?
I was like, which is supposed to be the multiverse saga too, and it feels like
Oh
we really
yeah,
haven't like
yeah.
the rules are so confusing in the
They
in the
are.
multiverse.
They are. I'm. This is the make or break phase because you have
Yeah.
X-Men coming out. X-Men 97 is coming in, I think, next month or something like that. March or May, somewhere in that range. Um, you have that coming out. Then you have Deadpool. Then you have Daredevil uh series on Disney Plus. I, I I think they have a lot of promise in this phase.
Yeah.
But I think what the best part about this phase is going to be is that they're going to slow down on the release of
Yes.
films and shows. So not having a show put out so many times, like because I'm gonna tell you what, last year, year prior with this last phase, I've it's been tiring, bro. It's been tiring trying to keep up with all these shows on Disney Plus, and I really don't care to anymore. I really don't care about it. Like you
It's
got
not
to
worth the
if I'm
investment.
gonna see a show, it's not because like if you're gonna have me watch a show, have me watch a show and it actually means something, not where I watch a show and I'm just like,
Yeah, especially Secret
She
Invasion.
Hulk and Secret
Secret
Invasion
Invasion
was
was
absolute
bad.
garbage. At
I
least like
can
She Hulk was actually palatable.
yeah,
Secret Invasion was just I,
I
I
yeah, I
I'm
would
so done.
and I dislike She-Hulk. Like She-Hulk I honestly
Yeah,
couldn't finish. I thought it was painfully unfunny, but at least it knew what it wanted to be. Secret
yeah,
Invasion is supposed to be this like very, serious, which the show does have a serious tone, this ultra serious, project that has implications for the entire MCU. And from what I heard the ending was awful. I heard the ending was really
it was
bad.
absolute garbage.
Like it was
It was absolute garbage.
like Amelia Clark apparently gets like superpowers from like every single like
Yeah,
Marvel superhero, and then the main
yep,
villain to get it was,
yep.
which again I love Amelia Clark, phenomenal actress, but she deserved better, and that it was just the way they put things together. I heard was very. It was clear
They
that like
all
they didn't know what to do.
they all deserved better. And I'm assuming that this next phase will be an apology letter to
They had
all
to.
fans and actors and production hands, as well. Like
Yes.
everybody that's on these sets, designs and all that other stuff with behind the scenes type of work. Like you can't put all that time into a project and then it just flops like this.
Yeah, that's
You know
why
what
I'm
I'm
happy
saying?
they had that creative overhaul with Daredevil.
Yeah.
Because we actually
Hmm.
have like the continuation of the real series. But I think also the other thing too is like they
Oof.
were, and I think we talked about this, and but like they would go into production without like a pilot episode. Like they were literally like filming on the fly, like filming, like they would have written scenes, but they weren't like it wasn't like episode one, episode two, episode three, episode four. They were literally like saying, okay, this is probably gonna be episode two, or maybe this is gonna be episode three. Like they were literally like that's how bad the actual process was in production.
For
So
Daredevil?
they had no pre-writing phase. They were literally just doing their storyboarding and their I'm forgetting the other part. Like the thing you do before you have like a script. I
Oh,
forgot what
mm,
it's called.
outline.
Yes. So they were like
Yes.
outlining stuff,
Yes.
but then they would like they would technically put like a script together, but again, it wasn't like this is one episode, this is one episode, this is another episode. They were just going in without having like an actual pilot episode, and they just felt that filming it and then putting together stuff in post would make things better, which is a
See, I
terrible approach, by the way. Everybody, please be organized if you ever want to do anything in life. So, the
bro,
point of being
and that
organized.
that it makes me understand Mahershala Ali's issue with Blade so much more now.
Yeah,
I didn't know they were approaching Daredevil like that.
yeah. Daredevil
That's absolute
was,
garbage.
yeah, they
That's
absolutely were
absolute
doing it the
garbage.
same way because like they said that he wasn't gonna suit up in this show until episode four. They killed off Karen and Foggy off screen before the events of the show. Um, and then really, what else? I don't know. There's a lot of stuff in that show I think we're gonna find out about eventually. That we're gonna be like, what were you? What? Why?
I've been rewatching the Daredevil series. I'm now starting season 3
Nice. Really good
because
season.
I wanted to kind of like get back
Really
and
good.
see and you know what? I have to apologize to all of you, okay? Because I said on this show probably sometime last year, last summer, that the best fight choreography I've seen on film
Let's
uh
see.
was C and Daredevil. And I'm gonna be completely honest with you, bro. That ain't it. That fight choreography that I've been looking at,
For Daredevil?
that's yeah, it's not what I remember. It's actually what I think that people were um did you watch Echo?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. Now that was beautiful. Very well done. Very well done. But Daredevil shows up and
Yes.
he's in episode 1
Mm-hmm.
and people were complaining about the choreography, how slow it was. And I'm watching Daredevil again, and I'm seeing exactly the same type of fighting that was going on there. So it's like there is consistency with the fight choreography. I didn't think it was, but there actually is.
Yeah. I think there was this criticism about the use of CGI because there was one moment in during the Echo and Daredevil fight where it's like Charlie has really done it like himself. Where he would just do like a flip up. They
Hmm.
CGI'd that in the middle of a one take. So
Oh no!
that's
Oh,
like
okay,
what the
okay,
criticisms are.
okay.
Yeah. So I think, and it is a good point. I do think like that there. I don't think there's like such thing as like a perfect choreography. Like
It's not.
it is
It's
impossible
not.
to because like realistically, if you're in a group setting, like if you're like a main character in a group setting, they're not people aren't gonna take their time. You know what I mean? No
Yeah.
one's gonna go like one at a time. You know, I think Daredevil kind of strays away from that because you actually get a sense like a lot of their one takes are like there are times where he's literally getting like like hit by multiple people, or
Yeah.
they construct a scene in a way that makes sense for them not to be like so many people at the same time for Daredevil to have to fight.
Yes.
For
Yes.
example, like people having to come up the staircase during like the biker scene, for instance, like people aren't gonna like go up
Oh.
the entire staircase and deal with that. Or Old Boy, I think is a good example. Like there are like slow elements, but they
Mm.
make it realistic with how the characters get tired over time. So it makes sense
They
that
do.
they're not
They
gonna
do.
like have the
Yeah.
same energy from the beginning of the fight to the midpoint to the end. So I'd
Yeah,
say all
that's a
that. Yeah.
solid point. That's a
Yeah.
very I didn't even think about it like that because the um the fight scene, my favorite scene in Daredevil is that one shot. They did it twice. I want to say it was once in season 1 and once in season 2. But it was a one shot going down a staircase where Daredevil was fighting, was it that biker club? It may have been that. Yeah, it was that biker gang that he was fighting. It's going down the staircase, and it was just a beautiful shot. And I actually think that the best time that the choreography actually looks tight is when the camera is zoomed in a little more. So the
Yeah.
frame is tighter on the characters, and it makes you feel like they're actually like this high impact
Right.
on punches and kicks is punches and kicks.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah.
But on those punches and kicks where you see the shot is real tight, it feels like it's actually something like grounded more
Right.
so than if you have a wide shot and you're just seeing the invisible kicks and stuff like that. I
Yeah, no,
think
you're right
that's
about
what
that.
you I think that's what I was seeing at sometimes with certain scenes. Now his
Yeah, for
fights with
sure.
Nobu and stuff like that made that was just perfect. Very well done. But
Yeah.
I think that when they bring Daredevil back, now I'm with season 3 I'm looking forward to seeing the fight with Kingpin. That was my favorite,
Oh, that was
absolute favorite.
yeah, it's a really good one.
So I think that going into this new season, I think that which is like it's supposed to be a reboot, rebrand, but not season 4 type thing. I don't know. Whatever it is. I don't care. It's season 4 to me. I
Yeah.
think that I think that it's going to be a very well done. So I'm excited about what we're going to see. I'm
Yeah.
significantly more excited about the MCU than Sony. Sony is just trash to me, and
Yeah.
DC is right above it.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I think there's promise with what we're gonna have. Fantastic Four is going to be amazing. I'm looking forward to seeing how Deadpool uh, affects X-Men. So I don't know, man. I think we're gonna get a lot of good stuff in the next year.
Yeah, I think so too. I think having this conversation made me realize like how excited I am to
Yeah,
for,
yeah,
for things to I'm just glad they're I was glad taking their time. Like, thank you. Just we can
yeah,
wait.
yeah.
We can wait.
No
Take your
rush.
time. And even if the new Daredevil season, for example, is 9 episodes, I'd rather have 9 quality episodes that are as at least on par with the Netflix series than you going through with the original 18 you set out to do. And if you want to do the
Which
18,
makes no sense.
which is an insane endeavor to do 18 episodes, because
And I
again,
guarantee
I
those
asked,
episodes are gonna be like what 43 minutes, 43 to 52 minutes.
I mean, on their track record, probably like 16, but they
Yeah.
they but they did say that like if the reception to the season is well done or is good, they'll consider doing another 9. So like a part 1 and a part 2 kind of situation, or
Which
maybe
is
they'll make like
fine.
the part 2 like a season 2, which
Which
I
is
like.
fine.
Which is
I
cool. I'm
don't
cool with that.
care. Take
Make
your
it good.
time.
Take your time.
Just
Yeah.
do it right. And that's what I'm saying. Like that's why I'm glad whatever happened, so that we can get a great story for
Yeah.
Daredevil, get a
And
great story for Blade, get a great story
and
for Deadpool. I'm
yeah.
excited.
Exactly. And really the last thing I want to say is I love how they brought in the directors from Loki season 2 because their filmmaking is really great.
Oh,
I
the
love their
pictures looked
you talk
amazing.
about time frames, you talk
Yeah.
about their cinematography, the fact that they emulate for both seasons, but they emulated 35 millimeter.
Yes.
How they
Yes.
have quite feature a lot of long takes, a lot of one shots. The one of my favorite was when it was zooming in on Kang as he was exiting the little the door to
Yeah.
try to breach some time. For example, I say all that because their filmmaking is very compatible with something like Daredevil. And you combine that with the fight choreographers who came back from the Netflix series,
Yeah.
like
I think we're in for a treat. I think we're
should
in
be
for a
good.
treat.
I
Yeah.
hope. Not gonna
Yeah.
with this. It's all you want, Marvel, is please. You have you had the recipe.
Yeah.
All right. All you have to
Yeah.
do
Just
is
stop
make
looking at it.
and deliver. Exactly. Make and deliver
They
that dish.
stopped. It's very simple. It's very
Give
simple. Do
us
do what you do
yeah.
well.
Give us that well cooked, medium rare steak
Yeah.
with a side of
Yeah.
potatoes. That's all we want.
Yeah. That's all we want. No need to overcook it. Don't do it well done. And don't give us stovetop potatoes.
We don't mess with yeah, we don't mess with those kind of
No.
potatoes. No.
Nah. Nah. Don't give me those flakes. I'm good on that.
Oh man. Oh
Yes,
boy.
sir. Yes,
Good
sir.
little discussion we had there. But yeah, so
Hey,
I
man.
think
Amazing. Amazing.
yeah, but I feel like now we're sort of reaching the final little segment here of the episode for today, and that's gonna be our review on the holdovers. So yeah, I think do you want to go ahead and go through the synopsis and then we'll go ahead
Yes,
and
sir.
give our breakdown? Awesome.
Yes, sir.
So um The Holdovers is directed by Alexander Payne and written by David Hemmingson, which also stars Paul Giamatti, Devine Joy Randolph, and Dominic Sessa. And is a story of a cranky history teacher at a remote prep school being forced to remain on campus over the holidays with a troubled student who has no place to go and a grieving cook. Um, I'll just start off by saying, what a great film! What a really great film! Um,
Yes.
Definitely surprise of the year for me. Um, I went into this thinking this was going to be, another ordinary Christmas movie, with all the typical, plot points, but um I really felt like they had and presented a lot of meaningful themes that I
Hmm.
think audiences can relate to. I think Paul Giamatti delivers I think his best performance of his career.
Yes.
I think Devine Joy in a supporting role as Mary Lamb was phenomenal. And it's part of the again debatably the best scene in the movie. And Dominic Sessa, who's um a first timer. This is his first
Oh,
movie ever,
wow. This is
actually.
his first one?
And yeah, first
Wow.
acting debut. And with the way he carried himself and the chemistry they had with his two co-stars, didn't
Yeah.
seem to me that he felt an experience. He felt like a pro. And
Yeah.
again, a lot of it has to do with the writing. A lot of it has to do with the directing. And yeah, it's just I feel like that's a nice little preface to what should be, I think, a really great discussion. Honestly, there's
Yeah.
not really a ton of negatives I can take out of this movie right out of the gate. But yeah. So what were your general thoughts, bro?
Yeah, generally I love this movie. I think that various elements that we'll get into with the breakdown, obviously, I think will show that. But I think that we're gonna kind of like get out of order if I say this now, but what you just said about Paul Giamatti, this being his best performance of his career, I can't disagree with that. This is probably the one, and I love Paul Giamatti, but this is the one time where I'm looking at him and I was stunned, honestly, because it everything about his his character seemed like he embodied it so well. I love when you can watch a movie and you're not looking at an actor, you're looking at the character, right? You're not, which is my issue with the Rock. It's almost like every time you see him, it's just that's the Rock right there. But I don't get that with you know actors like Paul. Like you get who they are. Like that's who they are in the moment. That's them. That's not Paul Giamatti.
Yeah.
That's not Paul. That's Paul Hunnam. You know what I'm saying? Like it was like it was a great portrayal. So I'm before I push it too far ahead. What do you think about the overall storyline?
Yeah, I think the storyline was great. I never knew like holding over was a thing. To be honest with
Me
you, I
either.
think I was
Me
I,
either.
I was kind of ignorant to the idea. Obviously, I'm still in college now, but um, I think this movie made me sort of appreciate the business that I'm in and being able to be around my family as much as I have. And I know that there are a lot of foreign exchange students, a lot of international students, or just students depending on their living situations who aren't able to return home for the holidays or other parts of the year. Um, and so the idea that they're sort of they sort of had to remain on campus with I imagine with others on campus I presume
Right.
um it's actually it's rather sad to think about. It makes you be grateful for the position you are now. So I
Mm-hmm.
know storyline wise, I think it really lent itself to being this very personal tale. It really allowed the characters to breathe. um I think the overall structure was done perfectly. There's really aren't any significant changes that I would make to the structure of the story. To be quite honest with you, I liked how it covered the full 2 weeks. I thought that
Yes.
even the way they transitioned through time made sense,
Yeah.
and that's a difficult thing to do because it is often a cop out where they'll just say, 4 days left, for
Mm-hmm.
instance. But in this particular
Mm-hmm.
case, it felt organic for sure, and yeah. What
Yeah.
were your thoughts, bro?
Storyline wise, I actually so again, you told me a little bit about the movie prior to us selecting it and watching it, but I didn't know what the full story was, right? Beforehand. I don't watch trailers. So it was good to go along with the progression of the story and the characters to kind of like understand that this was a Christmas movie. Um and you know what? I almost feel like because I have my specific movies that I watch during Christmas time. And I'll watch certain movies every other year. I won't watch a specific movie every year anymore. I'll just kind of like space it out so that every time I watch it, it feels good to watch again. I think this might be in that rotation, to be honest, because the story was one that was you can relate to specific characters um in certain ways, especially if I'm assuming if people have gone through those exact same situations where like with Mary losing her son type of thing, right? I think or if even anyone who's lost anybody near the holidays, when you're going through the holidays and you start thinking about that person and like how different things feel. Like that's what it looked like she was experiencing, like trying to adjust to life without her son. So it's kind of like you can relate to the characters in a way that they found it felt grounded. Um, and it made it seem like it was someone that you knew, which is very, very interesting and intriguing. So storyline wise, I loved it because I think that it told the pace of the specific characters, whether it was the other boys in a class or the people that Angus and Hannah met throughout their travels. You know what I'm saying? Like everything was paced properly. This didn't feel like it was um like an overdrawn type of movie. I remember the last movie that we watched. You said that you kind of felt like there was things that they could have cut out. I didn't get that sense with this movie. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like everything felt like it belonged there and needed to be there to progress the story along. So I story wise, I loved it. I loved it. And I think that this is something that you can kind of like watch with your family as well. So I think it tells a good because it has a lot of good principles to be taught. Like he kept telling Angus, Bartman don't tell lies, or Bartman don't do that, do this, do that, and all that stuff. And it's kind of like various lessons that I think that kids can learn if they watch this with their parents. I think it was a good movie, man. The story
Yeah.
was just amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think also the pacing in the film reflects the progression of Angus's and Mr. Hunnam's relationship, as well as they
Yes,
sort
yes,
of,
yes, yes.
build a camaraderie, build a trust in one another. Um, and so I appreciated how they took the time to establish their tolerance of each other.
Yes.
And as much as Mr. Hunnam, openly admitted to Angus being a pain in his ass, you can definitely
Mm-hmm.
tell there was respect for him, and also understanding that they're not too dissimilar from each other. As we'll
Yeah.
cover a bit here, but I think it perhaps be best to really just start from the beginning to really establish really Angus's situation, and
Mm-hmm.
that being how he lost his father. So
Yes.
um what I originally thought that when Angus was, speaking to his mother on the phone, which there, never mind. It goes into a filmmaking element. I want to hold off on it until a little bit later.
Yeah, yeah, I got
But
you.
Angus is obviously on the phone with his mother in the beginning of the movie, sort of, asking her why, like, why can't you come, pick me up? Why do you have to do your
Mm-hmm.
honeymoon, with your who he just views as like as a boyfriend as opposed to as a stepfather,
Mm-hmm.
and you sort of get right out of the gate that he is just not willing to accept these new circumstances, and a lot of it just has to
Mm-hmm.
do with him believing his father is dead. And I'm not sure if you did, I took that literally. Like I initially
Yeah.
thought that his father was dead, and I do want to sort of jump forward
Go
really to
ahead.
the third act, if that's okay, which is the
Yep.
reveal of his father being in a mental institution,
Yeah.
where after him and Mr. Hunnam go on a trip to Boston to sort of, get a breath of fresh air outside of the prep school, and him sort of wanting to connect with his father as much as he can, but realizing that he's unfortunately just not able to really understand or doesn't even know who Angus is, was
Yeah.
utterly devastating, needless to say. And I think if you ever lost a loved one, either in that capacity or really as a loved one in general, that sort of, clinging on to, that person, it's tough to let go. It's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
extremely tough to let go.
Yeah.
But I think they really approached that storyline with a lot of grace. Because it could have been very easy to take it in a lot of different directions, but I really felt like their approach made sense. And for Angus to say that his father is dead, was really just symbolic of the fact that he just isn't the man that he knows anymore. And
Right.
deep down, he realizes that, but he's just holding out hope that the man that he grew up with, um, before his turns to regression, before his turns to violence, could be the person he grew up with, the person that he was inspired by.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a really good through line with that in, are we destined to become our parents, right? Are we,
Mm-hmm.
you know, do we have enough autonomy to say we can be our own person, or are we just, again, destined to be, the very people that have been in our lives? And um yeah, I think I'm not sure sort of what your thoughts are on that, if that's sort of a relatable aspect that that
Yeah.
you felt in terms of like feeling like you had to be like someone instead of just being your authentic self.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think see, I think that's the thing that I think that's honestly what you deal with as a son in general. Like when you, especially when you're close to your father, right? Like if you grew up close to your father, you sometimes feel like you have to push your way out of his shadow just so you can kind of like find out who the hell you are. Um, and I'm sure a lot like I've gone through it. I'm sure, you and your brothers have gone through it at some point in time. Um, I think that when you when you grow up with your dad, that's what it kind of is, right? I'm a junior, so I had to find out who Derrick Jr. was, and it's a process, right? And I think that that's the thing that we're seeing Angus go through in this movie, where he's like, he of course he wants to be with family during this time, but he also just wants to figure out who the hell he is, right? You don't really fully get that until you're about like what will start to feel like you get it until you're like 25, 26, like just starting to somewhat even understand a semblance of who you are, right? um and he's like what, maybe 18, and no, 17, he's gotta be like 17, because he's not even he's not they're not college age students in this movie. So I can only imagine what it's like for someone who feels like they're trying to, they're afraid to become what their father is, but you love your father at the same time, and you just like trying to figure out that whole relationship, and then you also trying to figure out your relationship with yourself,
Yeah.
and he was going through that with no real guidance. Like his mom has him in his boarding school, uh uh so he has no connection to his family. He doesn't feel like he has really any friends at the school type thing. I think that's even a tougher time to go through something like that, is when you're isolated, because you can't get a sense of what you like and all that other stuff with other people. So I think that this movie did a great job of showing that progression.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
and and it looked like he started to somewhat enter manhood by the time the movie ended, because of his time with Hunnam. You know what I'm saying? I think that kind of, he just longed to have a father figure, because his father is in the institution, and his stepfather obviously doesn't like him. So he doesn't have that older male figure in his life. So I think in some ways, him being locked, well, not locked, but it's being trapped at this school over Christmas break worked out well for him. Honestly, it worked out well for him, because he's able to get that guidance that he needed. You know, and it was a great. I loved it, man. I loved it. It was a great story all around. Great story all around. I think, we touched on the acting aspect of things already.
Yeah.
Um, I've been itching to get into this part of the breakdown, bro. The visuals,
Yes.
the
Yeah. I
visuals. What did you think?
Remarkable. And really sort of to pivot back to what I didn't say before, um, there was a brilliant use of zoom in and zoom out. So the zoom in
Yes,
to
yes,
Angus's conversation with his mom, I felt like community was like, as the camera is zooming in, is meant to symbolize that he's caught inside of his own head, where he feels like he still has his attachment to his father and is that refusal to let go of what was.
mm-hmm.
Hit the zoom out and the scene following Angus's exit from the mental institution,
Mm,
where him and Mr. Hunter are sort of having that final heart to heart, and how the camera doesn't cut to Mr. Hunnam at all until Angus concludes his monologue, was him letting go of his father in that respect, and sort of
wow.
letting go of all the fear, all of the guilt, all of the, you know, the anxieties that come with being young, and that
Hmm.
come with not really having a proper father figure in your life.
Yeah.
And I think that for him to sort of be vulnerable in that moment was, yeah, this integral to his character arc, right?
Yes.
I think also too that like he Angus was understood that coming into his own was the right thing. Where Mr.
Yeah.
Hunnam
Yeah. Yeah.
immediately says, "You are not your father; you're your own person."
Hmm.
How the world is a very scary place, but the reality is that all that we can hold on to is ourself sometimes, and the choices that we make, will impact us and potentially those around us, right?
Hmm.
Those around us
Hmm.
who, we want in our life because they have a meaningful impact and they're there for positive reasons and negative ones. So, and that was just a really that was like one example of like a really great parallel that I picked up on. And I imagine you did too. That I loved their execution to both scenes in that regard. So
I didn't catch that. What you just said, I did not catch that. That's amazing. Yeah, no, I dang. I actually I felt like the zooms that they used in this were great too. It felt like we were watching a 70s movie.
yes,
Which this was released in 2023. Um, I actually looked it up, so I want to read this excerpt because I don't want to lose it. But um, I believe this was from the Hollywood Reporter, but it said that the Holdovers isn't just set in 1970. It looks like it could have been made in 1970, which that was my favorite aspect of it
yes,
because it fully looked like this was something that was something came out. This thing like it came out way before I was born. So I was glad to see that because it looked like that, but it looked clean. It looked sharp. So the cinematographer, Igel Brild, I think that's how you pronounce his name. Uh, his meticulous work behind it was this was the result of his meticulous work behind the scenes. Surprisingly, Brild managed to create a 70s style aesthetic without going back to traditional film stock. He originally planned to use the film stock that was used in in 70s Hollywood, but since those resources were unavailable, he had to shoot the film digitally using an ARRI Alexa camera, which blew my mind because
wait, really? This was shot digitally?
this this was shot digitally.
What?
That's what
Oh
blew my
wow,
mind. Yeah, that's what blew my mind because
I would have
it
not predicted
fully
that.
but
Wow.
can you imagine how expensive this film would have been had it been shot on film?
Oh,
Film is
really expensive. Yeah,
expensive to use, man. And
yeah.
the fact that they did this movie the way they did to have that feel on it, I like as an editor, I could appreciate it significantly more because it made it seem like we were watching a movie that was old. And when you're talking about a movie that so the budget was only 70 was around $70 million. That's not a big budget for a Hollywood film.
Yeah,
Like that's like a mid-level budget, right?
yeah.
Um and this movie was like maybe like 2.5 hours long, closer to 3 hours long. Yeah, this would have been an extremely expensive film had they shot this on film. So in that regard, while the film wasn't at his disposal, it was a great way to utilize his budget because you could allocate those resources into other areas since the film isn't available. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And then you gotta like get those cameras and that.
That's wild. I never would
Yeah,
have thought that. Was it digital 35 then?
it
They
may
showed
have
up?
been. Well, it may have been, but when you shoot digitally like that, like you can go full frame and just crop it if you need
Yeah.
to, you know, and it had that feel.
Right.
I felt like I was watching this on a VHS.
Right, yeah, because even
You know what I'm
the
saying?
film, because I definitely noticed like film grade. That's why I was convinced that
I
this was 100% film originally. Because like you literally saw the film grains in a majority,
yeah,
especially with some of the darker scenes.
yes,
Like a
yes,
knife range is like I could have sworn I literally thought that wow that's
yes,
impressive. That's
yes,
yeah. I don't even know what to say to that. That blew my mind. Thank you for sharing that. I
yeah,
would have
yeah.
never
No
guessed
problem,
that.
no
That's
problem. Cause I was watching the movie and I was like 20 minutes into it. I'm like I'm looking at it and I was like, I can't tell what this is. And
yeah
usually I can tell. I couldn't tell if
yeah
this was digital or if this was on film. That is a phenomenal feat to be able to do that. Now
yeah.
if you ask Christopher Nolan will be like, no, we're shooting this on film. Like there's no
You can
way.
talk right away.
You
Yeah,
know, but
I will.
that's a Christopher Nolan budget.
Yeah, because I know there are a lot of like filmmakers who shoot digitally, but they use like film lenses
Yes, yes,
on certain occasions.
yes,
But
yes.
that's nuts though. I don't know
Yeah,
how all credit in the world to him. That's
yeah.
yeah. Wow.
And
And then
think about how
you
many
know,
films they probably watched in preparation for this film
oh yeah, just like
stylistically,
right.
because all the zoom outs and the zoom ins and the transitions,
Hmm.
which we'll get into in a second, but everything that you see with this film, it had the feel of an actual film on film. Like
Right.
it felt like it, you know. So yeah, I'm stuck on it too, bro. Because it blew my mind watching it. Like when I looked it up and I'm watching the rest of the movie, knowing this is shot digitally, like, it
Yeah.
just goes to show you that like I think that I forgot. I think Chris was discussing this with us one time. And I can't remember what movie he was talking about. It may have been a remake. Nope, I'm sorry. It was Chris Ali. It wasn't Chris Negron. Chris Ali was he and I were talking about a movie um on an episode few episodes ago. Um where we were discussing how to do remakes. And he said, you know, I think it makes sense to when you're going to do a remake that is from the 70s or 80s to shoot it stylistically like that, but do it the right way. Like you're not trying to make it cheesy or anything like that, but stylistically make it seem like it, you know, is shot in that era and and the set design is from that era. And they did that with this movie. You know what I'm saying? It was it felt like 70s Boston. Um it just like everything with the set design um and the visuals again. I'm stuck on visuals because I know we can go ahead and move on to editing, but I, everything, soundtrack and everything. And you know what? Actually, one thing before we get in, well, I guess this could kind of be a transition into editing. One thing I noticed about this movie, because I think this is what actually made me think about it in the beginning, which is something you don't see in today's era of movies. Credits at the beginning of the movie. I mean, I'm talking about like full credits
Yeah.
at the beginning of the movie. You don't see that anymore. You know what I'm saying? Usually you see like the main stars and like producers and stuff like that. You see some stuff like that at the beginning of the film, director, producer, editing, all that stuff. You see that at the beginning. But you don't see the full thing anymore. Like that's usually reserved for the end of the movie. And that's what made me start thinking about how they shot this,
Yeah. I think
because that part was just great to see.
yeah. I also felt that well, if it this more ties in with sound, but I was also going to mention the music choices as
Yeah,
well. I'm
yeah.
not sure. Well, you let me know if this gets us out
We
track
can combine
for
the two.
editing. For
We,
editing.
we
Okay,
let's combine the two.
editing
Yeah,
it
yeah,
into it. But like, I just
yeah.
think of some of the because I know some of the major dialogue sequences didn't feature music. Um, I thought transitions to those scenes featured um feature like some kind of like underlying theme. So I
Hmm.
imagine it was really just to have that through line of it being set during Christmas, which I liked. And
Yeah.
I am someone who I I'm not opposed to music playing when characters are talking,
Hmm.
but I I don't I don't want the music to tell me how to feel. And I think I said that like multiple times.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I do
yeah,
not
yeah,
want
yeah.
like the music to manipulate me into feeling a certain way. I want
Hmm.
characters to sort of breathe naturally and had let them tell the story, right?
Yes, yeah.
Um, but yeah, and then I guess really to get back specifically into the editing as well. Um, it was really just I almost felt like there was a lack of it, and not in a bad way. I mean that in terms of there was necessary edits. I felt that the transition to scenes felt natural, but this movie featured a lot of long takes, um,
Yes, yes.
which is rare to see because I watched I mentioned to you before we started recording that I watched this video called like an anatomy of the scene, and there's a scene when obviously Mr. Hunnam and Angus are in New York the wall after dropping off
Hmm.
um oh my goodness, I'm forgetting your name, the
Oh, Mary,
cook. uh
Mary.
yes.
Yeah.
um but they're obviously they travel to sort of this like little skating rink, and then
Mm.
obviously uh uh Mr. Hunnam like encounters like a fellow student of his, yada yada. I say all that because the aftermath of the scene in which Angus is sort of questioning like who was that guy
Yeah, yeah,
while
yeah.
he's in the bar, while they're both in sort of not the bar but like in this like a liquor store, like the camera didn't cut away. So
Hmm.
the director mentioned how he likes um to follow characters, and he likes to choreograph his actors to move not only in a certain way but in tandem with the dialogue. And that's a challenging thing
That
because
is, yeah,
it's hard when you're walking. It's hard to control deep down. It's hard to control how
yeah,
fast you walk,
yeah.
right? Like everyone has a natural speed at which they walk. So when you're
Hmm.
acting, you're obviously having to memorize your lines and deliver them in a particular way to make sure you communicate your emotion. So that's challenging. So the acting part is already, the hard part. But then you combine that with the fact that you have to be cognizant of your movements and to make sure that what you're
Hmm.
saying matches up with what your character has to be doing at a particular moment is also tough. So the fact
Yeah,
that Alexander went through that effort in making sure that Hank's actor and obviously Paul Giamatti were sort of you know moving in a way that makes sense. I thought was brilliant. That was real brilliant. I mean, even think about the sequences involving their little chase. This is after um
yeah.
you know all the boys who were originally holding over basically were saved by
Hmm.
the sort of like this freshman quarterback's dad who picked them up in a helicopter. And obviously like well after that moment Angus proceeds to sort of go to get on the cell phone and starts running away, and it ends up becoming this hilarious scene. But I loved how the camera stood still
Hmm.
and it would follow them, and then you talk about the editing would just naturally cut to the next scene because that's just how the overall scene is progressing. This is how
Hmm.
they're like going through different parts of the school. So there's switches like that I very much appreciate. So the fact that there's sort of this idea of like not obviously going back to your typical, your two shots, and obviously like your two shot. And you correct me if I'm wrong. It's just a shot reverse shot, right? Or is that
Yes.
something totally different? Right? Yeah. So when you
Wait, you said it's a two shot?
yeah, that's different from a shot reverse shot, right? Or are they technically the same thing?
No, they're different. Yeah, they're different.
Different? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, I just want to make sure. I just not want to say like the wrong uh
No, no, you're good.
terminology,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
no, I say that because obviously there were a couple of scenes that obviously just were filmed quote unquote traditionally, but that's not a bad
Hmm.
thing. Sometimes when you're a
Yeah.
filmmaker, it's like you want to do more than what you have to, and they Alexander just did a perfect job of knowing when to have those long takes, when not
Hmm.
to, and to let things play out, normally. And it's tough because
Yeah.
sometimes you want to do, like I say, you want to bite off more than you can chew. And it's like,
Hmm.
look, you can go through this whole idea of, we're gonna do a one shot from this point, and then we're gonna have it go all the way here, and then we're continuing it through. I guarantee you, there's some of the editors who come into the room is like, hey, I got a better idea for you. Hits a button. That's what you should do. Oh,
Yeah.
you still get the same point across.
Yeah.
You don't have to, do more than you have to. And so yeah, I just appreciated sort of there's definitely a little bit of restraint, but also a bit of ambitiousness as well, I
Yeah.
felt. You know.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think in terms of editing itself, again, like you said, I think that they did the necessary cuts where they needed to. I enjoyed seeing the swipe transition or the wipe
Yes.
transition where
Yes.
because that's something that we don't see in productions now, right?
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
it's usually like a phase out, a fade out type thing, or there's blending two different scenes together and doing something like that. But doing that wipe scene, a transition, I remember seeing that with wait, which scene was it? Um, when he left the school to buy that Christmas tree.
Yes.
That was perfect. That was absolutely perfect. And it felt like we were in the 70s, bro.
I love that. Yeah.
It just felt like we were in the 70s. That like when you're shooting something like that, when the shots, just like you talked about how they were running through the school and the the camera pans and moves with them. And then that's the end of that shot. And they
Yeah.
go to another one and it goes to
Yeah.
like
And
starting over. I love that.
what I love too is how the white transitions were used at the right time. Like they were used at moments
Yes.
where like if characters had to travel like far distances, it would just be a
Yes.
way for them to speed it up instead of like just doing a typical like instead of doing like multiple scenes to get to a point, it would just
Yeah.
like hurry up the process. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Again, talk about restraint because it could be very tempting to literally follow everything a character does, and it's like
Yes.
you don't have to show no walking from this point to this point. You can still get the
No.
same thing if you just cut it right
Just
away.
get right
Like
there.
my favorite like one. This was my favorite scene because it just made me laugh so hard. Was when Angus is running like disobeying Mr. Hunnam's orders, and obviously goes into the
Yeah.
gymnasium, dislocates his shoulder, and like you see like his horrified expression, and then it just like cuts him like outside, like obviously Mr. Hunnam sort of like scraping
Yeah.
the snow off his car. So there are
Yeah.
moments like that where it was just like it felt like a good old like it made me feel nostalgic, even though I wasn't born in the 70s.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Well, see,
So
and
it's
that
a funny
that
thing.
scene in particular, I thought he faked me out because I thought what he was doing was like acting like he was hurt, but just to kind of like poke fun at Mr. Hunnam. And I'm thinking, okay, surely he's okay.
Yeah.
By the time you actually see him running outside and like his arm was gone, it was like, oh no, he
Yeah.
seriously hurt himself.
Yeah.
Like that was just it was just great to see, man. And the progression of Mr. Hunnam in general with his see like it was Angus maturing throughout the film, and it was Hunnam relaxing. Like they both did that as a film progressed, right? And I felt like they needed each other in order to get to the next phase of their life. Which is very interesting thing to think about. But yeah, no, I thought like the editing in general was it just felt like it was just a nostalgic feel to it. It wasn't anything crazy. You didn't have a lot of jump cuts. You just had scene shot, cut, scene shot, cut. And it just brought us back to like what basic filmmaking used to be.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't anything, over the top. But it doesn't necessarily need to be. Like this
Yeah.
was just it was perfect for what the time that era was.
Right, right.
And to touch on something with sound design. My favorite part of the sound design was actually at the Christmas party. So when Angus went to go look at the snow globe, and then he just focused in on it. He's looking at it, and like he's off spaced off in his own world. You start to hear the music fade away and the talking fade away, and it just
That was,
like
yeah.
you're just now it's just you and the snow globe, and then all of a sudden it snaps you back into reality, right? It was something very small and subtle, but I felt like they did a phenomenal job with it. And then you see why the snow globe meant so much to him, um, as well. Because like I just enjoyed this film. There's nothing about this movie that I could ever say anything bad about. I thought, especially with all the elements that we focus on with the movies, now where it's like everything checked off. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like everything felt right, and I enjoyed that. Like
Yeah.
I kind of thought at first when I started the movie, I was like, "What is?" Because I honestly didn't know anything about the movie outside of what you said. So like, "What is this about?"
Right, right. And, yeah,
This
I think,
was beautiful.
yeah. I think also too with because I damn, that was a really good that was a really good example you just gave. I didn't even think about that in the heat of the moment. The scene with the snow globe.
Oh
Um
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. I think sound was done well. That's the one element of filmmaking I sort of struggle to really pick up on. I think
Hmm.
um because some it's funny because like I think there are sort of like little creative elements you can do with it.
Oh
And
yeah,
it's
for
funny because like
sure.
the only times I really recognize sound is if I can tell. I'm sure you feel the same way. If there's like really bad ADR,
Oh
or
yeah, yeah, yeah,
there's
yeah, yeah.
um like scenes where an environment is supposed to be loud, but for
Hmm.
some reason everyone's quiet and you could hear every single piece of dialogue, sort of thing. But I
Yeah,
like all the Christmas
yeah,
parties that you actually felt that it was lively and that there were actual just people there enjoying
yeah.
themselves and talking. Um, Something I do want to mention, I just quickly forgot about this too, was the use of close-ups on certain occasions. The one that
Yes.
I loved was when the camera sort of, I don't think it lifted. I think it's just sort of like it didn't like elevate. It kind of just like um
Tilted up.
yes, just like tilted up a bit,
Yeah, yeah.
and it showed um Miss Lydia, Miss Crane, who was another one of
Oh
Angus's.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, uh,
yeah.
I think one of Angus's teachers, if I'm not mistaken, or a secretary, if I'm not mistaken. And so they're kissing her husband at the Christmas party, and
Oh
then
man.
the focus blurs out, and the focus is on Mr. Hunter's reaction to seeing that. Um, so yeah, really, just this instances like that, and then also just like I I don't know. It's just a lot. I just love their use of focus in the last scenes.
Yeah.
I love how they try to fit as much as they can in the frame. Um, yeah, and then really the one thing I did want to mention though is it shouldn't be understated how great of a performance Divine Joe Randolph did. She did an incredible
Hmm.
job. And the one scene that we both alluded to was the kitchen scene where she throughout the Christmas party was sort of, getting drunk, was being possessive over the record player until you realize the sentimental value that it had because it was just a reminder of her son. Um, and the way she delivered that line of "My son is dead" was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
felt just every sense of sadness in her words. But
Yes.
what I loved was how the camera cuts back to Mr. Hunnam and Angus. Um, and so you sort of see Angus's sort of upset expression where, um, he deep down he understands
Hmm.
that pain.
Yeah.
Maybe not like definitely not, similar circumstances, but just the pain of not having a loved one in your
Yeah.
life
Yeah.
anymore. You
Yeah.
know, um, but yeah, I think yeah, it was a really great fucking movie. It was really good. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, that's
most
really
definitely. And one thing I'll say before we get into our rating of the movie, Paul Giamatti,
yes.
the Wandering Eye thing. I actually had to look it up because I was like, wait, does he have a wandering eye for real? Do you know that he actually had to train with someone on how to actually do that?
What? That's crazy. I was wondering
And
why, because I watched an
yeah,
interview of his and I didn't see a lady. I
I didn't
thought
see it.
that's wild. That's
Yeah,
just really cool. I didn't
he's
know about that.
he said that he worked with a contortist from Circus Soleil. He said he's been sworn to secrecy on how he did it, but yeah, he trained with a contortist from Circuit Soleil to be able to do it, but he can't do it anymore because it's dangerous. Um, but yeah, apparently it's not CGI. It's not um anything. It's not makeup. No, I'm sorry. It was a special effect, like a makeup thing, but it's not CGI. So it was something that was actually happening. Like he just can't do it anymore. So I I agree with you on this. I wholeheartedly believe that this was his best film. Um, and he's done great movies before, but this was the best one that he's done portrayal wise. And I think between him and the supporting cast, they should get recognized for something with this movie. You
Yeah.
know, between them, with the cinematography, the directing, because based on what you were saying earlier, um to make sure that people are able to move within the frame while you're shooting is that's crazy. That's
Yeah.
crazy to memorize all that. So yeah, nah, this movie to me, I'm just going to give it to you. Perfect five. I have nothing about this movie that I can say needs to be done a better way. I think they did a great job with the story. They wrapped it up perfectly. We don't need a part two, anything like that. I don't want to see. I don't want to see Angus as a grown, a grown
Yeah,
man. I
yeah,
don't want to see him. I don't none of that. I just want to see this movie as it is, stay as it is. This was a perfect film in my eyes. So I'm
yeah.
giving it a five.
Yeah, I agree. Um, there's really nothing wrong with this movie. I mean,
Yeah.
sure, maybe with any movie you can find like little things to
Yeah. Yeah.
nitpick here
Yeah.
and there, but
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
I'm sure me and you would just say the same thing. Like even if there are nitpicks to be had, they weren't enough to affect our viewing experience. But
not at all.
It was a great movie, and it shouldn't be understated. Like this the thing. The one thing I'm sorry, I know we're sort of supposed to be near
Go
the end,
ahead.
but there's one thing I want to touch
Yeah.
on was
Yeah.
we talked about like just like briefly the relationship between Hunnam, Mr. Hunnam and Angus, but the scene where they take the same medication, the antidepressant, Librium,
Yes,
in the
yes,
hotel.
yes, yes.
Um, I thought was just a perfect resemblance of like we may be at different stages in life, but we're more again like we're more similar than we think,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah. But anyway, I figured I should touch on that because I thought like
That's perfect.
just having that like added depth to the characters, um, was great to see. It
Yes.
was great execution on their part.
Yeah,
Really just like a lot of themes that are just very relatable,
yeah.
and I think depending on the day you watch this can bring a tear to your eye,
Oh
so
yeah. Most definitely. Most definitely. Most definitely.
yeah.
Well, look, bro. This is a perfect suggestion, so I appreciate you bringing this up to us, man. I know Chris. I know Chris enjoyed this movie too. I can't wait to hear his thoughts on it too, man,
Yes.
because I think I think that's it's a great movie. This is one of those movies that I actually would not mind getting on DVD.
I
And now
know.
knowing how they shot it, I might look and see if I can find it.
Yeah. My hope
Beautiful.
is they do because physical media I feel like
Oh,
is going away.
we're we're at the end, man. We're at the end. It'll
Yeah.
come back. It'll come back by the time probably by the time our kids are college age or whatever, but it'll come back.
Yeah.
I think that this is absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect movie. So bravo. Thank you again for bringing it to us, bro.
No, I appreciate you
Yeah.
for obviously welcoming this suggestion, and I'm just glad we were able to do another great review as always.
Most definitely. Most
I
definitely.
think, like I said, I didn't expect it to be as as great as it was, honestly. I'm sure,
Yeah.
you and Chris would obviously say the same. Like there's just some
Yeah.
movies where you just go in with little to no expectations, not because you're worried about being bad or anything. It's just like, oh, I heard about it. What is it really
Yeah.
about? Then you get
Yeah.
out of the movie and you're like, wow, like, it's great like being able to discover stuff even though it may not have been when it released, just to watch it
Hmm.
however because movies are timeless and I think this is gonna be it's a Christmas movie too, so it's gonna be a timeless Christmas
Yeah.
movie for sure. It's gonna be watched
I agree with that.
a lot moving forward for sure.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Well, all right, bro. I think that pretty much wraps it up for us today. I think that we hit on a lot of good points here. So, and there was no pause moments. So, hey, that's great.
Yeah, no, for sure.
That's
For
great.
sure. Um,
All right, bro. But before we wrap it up, like, I think just let everybody know where they can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me over on Instagram, Matt_T 29. And
Yes, sir.
ultimately, we obviously just want to thank you guys, for watching, and or listening as well. We really appreciate the support. You not only show to obviously our respective podcasts, but to all the podcasts here on the OTS brand. And also, huge thank you to this guy right here. I mean, he's the pod father for a reason. He's the figurehead behind obviously all that we do. And really the reason that, I want to go out and try and do my best, obviously for him and obviously for you guys out there. So obviously appreciate this guy over here and appreciate you guys as well for tuning in, when you can. So
Yes,
we're
sir. Well, I appreciate you as well, bro. I
we're-
appreciate you as well. This is There's a lot of stuff that we're gearing up for. So, you
yes.
guys definitely be on the lookout for it. You can follow me again if you want to at Derrick_OTS. That's DERRICK, black way to spell it. Most importantly, though, please follow the brand OTS Media Co. on all social media platforms, OTS Media on YouTube. Hit that like button, that notification bell, and the subscribe button so you can be able to find out when we got new things coming to you. Again, if you guys have not heard, fans will be back top of the month. New episode will be out March 1st, so please be on the lookout for that with Chris Robinson and Ash Benny. the two hosts for the show. So it's gonna be a great time. I think we're still gearing up a little bit on some of the things we'll be shooting at pretty soon. So be on the lookout for it. Thank you guys for watching and or listening. We will catch you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.